And hello, welcome guys. So this is a video detailing why Linux Mint may be good. All right. So yeah, basically what happened is that I just decided to switch from Windows using Windows more frequently to using Linux OS, and one of the things I really enjoy about Linux OS is that it's way less laggy than Windows. Um, and why am I putting this video up? It's to show, alright, switching over to Linux isn't that much of a hassle, and it provides a really nice user experience. And of course, I'll be putting some links in the description and showing you some of the features of Linux Mint and how to get it done. I mean, there are a lot of videos on YouTube telling you how to dual boot your machine, etc. etc. So yeah, this video is basically for people who get frustrated with Windows, but you're probably like me. You don't know too much of you're not too much of a programmer, and there was some hesitation in switching over to Linux. But I'm here to show you that you don't have to have really in-depth programming knowledge to go and dabble with Linux, and you can still reap most of the benefits that Linux brings. Of course, one of the benefits is that it's free. It costs absolutely nothing to install Linux, unlike Windows that you probably need to pay $100+ for the license, and you'll probably have to pay every time you buy a new laptop, unless you don't want an OS installed. Now, the other thing that's really nice about Linux is that it's really lag free. As you can see now, what I'm running now is a video recorder, and I'm also running Buoyant Pimple Foam, which is an open foam. I'm doing CFD, of course. This channel is mainly dedicated to engineering, and CFD is one of very important topics with respect to engineering. So I'm running a heat transfer simulation, 6 processes. So I'm running Buoyant Pimple Foam in parallel, and the CPU usage is nearly 100%. But as you can see here, the lag is barely noticeable. Now you try doing this to a Windows machine, it will lag you, and probably there'll be windows that are not responding, and you probably can't use the computer as efficiently. So this is one of the reasons why Linux Mint or Linux in general is really popular, and it's also popular with me. So that's why I'm here to introduce you, hopefully to get you past the barrier of the unknown, like ease some of the concerns with regards to dual booting, and is it difficult? I mean, it sounds really complicated to do, but it's actually not that complicated. All right, so what am I running here? Okay, so I really want to elaborate on the efficiency of Linux Mint. One thing, I'm having a window of Microsoft Word open. Yeah, so I'm having two browsers with I think about 8 to 10 tabs each. Some YouTube videos up. So I'm really pushing the machine to the limit, and you can see a number of pages open. I think at least another 8 to 10 pages here. Microsoft Word File Explorer, running OpenFOAM in the background, having a File Explorer open, and on top of that, I'm also video recording. You try to do this in Windows, it will not do a very good job. So that's why Linux Mint, it's really nice to have, and it's pretty popular with me. Yeah. So without further ado, I just want to introduce you. If you have been convinced by my selling of Linux Mint, I'll try to introduce you to some of the install links. So basically with Linux, there are many distributions, and Linux Mint, why I choose Linux Mint, it's because of the user friendliness, especially for a Windows user like myself. And it's really easy to port over. You have nice start menus, you have your usual accessories, of Office suites, everything installs well, and you don't really need to know how to install drivers manually. The Linux Mint does it for you. Okay, what I mean is, yeah, it's very user friendly, and you have to go for Linux Mint 19.3. I mean, this is the 2020 version. There may be further releases in the future, but go for the ones based on Ubuntu if you want user friendliness. If you want something a little more customizable and you're comfortable with coding and understanding how the OS works, I would encourage you to go for the Linux Mint Debian Edition or Linux Mint Debi. So that allows you to have a little bit more privacy and in general. But if you're just beginning, I recommend you to download Linux Mint 19.3. There are many other distributions out there, but for Windows user, again, this is one of the most user-friendly ones that's available. Okay, which one do you download? If you have a decently powerful computer, you can download the Cinnamon edition. Download the 64-bit if you have more than 4 gigabytes of RAM, because the 32-bit edition only can use up to 4 gigabytes of RAM. So that's the main difference between 32 and 64-bit. If your laptop is 10 years old, or maybe 4 to 10 years old, and it's really old and Windows is lagging it, you can consider downloading the XFCE edition. So if you have like 4 gigabytes of RAM and maybe an Intel Atom or Intel Core Duo, Core 2 Duo, or some really small and compact, not very powerful processor, you can use this XFCE edition, 32 or 64-bit, that's up to you. Though, I mean, one of the considerations is the RAM requirement, and the other is that, well, 64-bit can 64-bit OS, that means the Linux Mint OS. The 64-bit edition can run 32-bit programs, but the 32-bit OS cannot run 64-bit programs. So if you have the chance, go for 64 bits. Okay. Alright, so yeah, this is where the download is. I will put it in the video description. And there are lots of videos on YouTube detailing how to install Linux Mint. So this is one of these videos, and like I said, I'll put the links in the description. The description is the area just below the video. So if you see my video, there'll be my name and the description there. Do go and check it out. I'll paste all these links there. It's very useful. Alright, so this video will show you this one you see here, Embracing Linux, a bootable USB drive. This is one of many videos detailing you how to install Linux Mint using a USB drive. So do have a USB drive on standby if you want to install Linux Mint. Of course, there are ways to do it without the USB drive, though that's a little more complicated. If you have a USB drive, and I know these are pretty affordable, I mean, if you have a computer, the USB drive is affordable in comparison. Do have one on standby. It works much smoother, right? And what you need to do is after you download it and you create your bootable USB drive, next thing you probably want to do is to partition your volumes using Windows. This is a video to show you how. Again, video description in the link. Don't worry about it. And if you run into difficulties with partitioning your disk, one of the most common problems associated with that is because there's your system restore and your system hibernation mode is on, and that prevents you from partitioning your disk properly. So the workaround for that problem is listed over here. You can take a look at it and download it. I mean, not download. You take a look at this article, follow the instructions to see how you can partition your drive properly, and you should be able to install Linux Mint. And there'll be some instructions for you. Do make sure to give Linux Mint OS plenty of space, at least 30 gigabytes and up. or 30 to 40 gigabytes for the root directory, meaning to say, okay, you can have, okay, how do you say this? All right, basically Linux Mint OS is a split. You can split it up into the root directory. So the root directory is where all your operating system files are. Okay. However, you can choose to install most of your files in the other files, and you can store your data in the home directory. So in the home directory, you can have all your downloads, documents, desktop, music, videos, etc., etc. You can see I even put an OpenFOAM file here. So you can split up your OS root directory in and you can install your root directory on one partition, and you can install your home directory on the other partition. Some of the videos do tell you how to do this, so do take a good look. And what I'm saying is that for the root directory, having about 30 to 40 gigabytes is a good safe estimate, so you don't run into problems like me now, having this file system run out of space. But that's another story for another time. So once you have partitioned your drive well, do make sure you have about, in total, the home directory, you can give it 100 gigabytes, and the root directory can give it about 40 gigabytes. And there will be something called a swap file. Give that about slightly more than your RAM in terms of size. You should be fine. Okay. If you're not sure what I'm talking about now, you can go look at the videos. There are plenty online. So do take a good look. They will guide you through how to get this process done and how to customize your desktop and your installation. Now, what you need to do then is, one of the most tricky steps, in fact, to doing dual boot is to boot it from the USB drive. So what you need to do is to access the advanced boot options. So this is a video here showing you how to access the advanced boot options, and these will actually tell you how to boot from a USB drive after restarting. So Windows does allow you some degree of user friendliness when you want to boot from a USB drive. Do take a look at advanced boot options, and you can see how to boot it from a USB drive without pressing F10 at the beginning and everything like that. So do take a look at that. Of course, you can access the BIOS as well, and there will be guides for that, but I won't go into detail here. Now, speaking of which, let's say you have watched the entire video and you have gone through all the installation steps. Okay, so what then do you do? You kind of want to set up your environment, your desktop environment, so that you can start working efficiently, so to speak. And one of the things that you first want to start thinking about is the word processor or the Office suites. Okay, so Office suites are probably one of the drawbacks of Linux, because they don't come with Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office has to be paid for by default, and Linux Mint does not come with Microsoft Office, obviously, and instead it comes with this thing called LibreOffice or Library Office. I'm not sure how to pronounce, but I like to pronounce it LibreOffice. Okay, LibreOffice, it has Excel-like program called LibreOffice Calc. It has a PowerPoint-like app called LibreOffice Impress, and LibreOffice Writer, which is the equivalent of Microsoft Word. Now, LibreOffice, it's able to edit Microsoft Word files. So you should not have a problem with accessing or reading Microsoft Word files. But the thing is that they may not come in the correct formatting that you want. So for that reason, you might want to still stick with Microsoft Office. And how do you then install Microsoft Office on Linux? So one of the most common workarounds is this thing called Wine, where you have this compatibility layer, which enables you to install Microsoft Office directly in the Linux OS operating system. So that's one of the workarounds, is to use Wine, but unfortunately Wine only allows you to install older versions of Microsoft Office and not something like Office 365. If you want to use Office 365, and one of the ways is to use, one of the better ways I would say, but more premium ways, is to use this thing called Codeweavers. If not, otherwise it's known as Crossover. So Codeweavers is the organization that writes and sells Crossover, and Crossover is the paid version of Wine, the paid version of the compatibility layer, which enables you to run Microsoft Office 365 seamlessly on Linux. So this is how this copy of Microsoft Word is running. So hi there, I am Microsoft Word running Linux. Okay, so you can see that it works pretty much perfectly. It should not be too much of a problem, though there are two catches for me why I have a little bit more trouble dealing with this. Okay, I mean, Word is still able to run more or less, but signing in to Word, I mean signing into the Office 365, for the most part it is okay. But if you have an organizational account, for example, you are a university student, or you work in some organization that gives you Office 365 subscription, using that to sign in to Microsoft Word on Linux may or may not work, because the login screen is a little bit bugged, even with this Codeweavers crossover on Linux. However, if you have bought your own Office 365 subscription from the Microsoft website, you should not have a problem logging into Office 365 here. So that's one of the okay-ish things about using this Codeweavers on Linux. And then there may be some graphical glitches here and there, but more or less 80-95% of the time you should not have a problem. Now, one of the other things which I like to use is equation editor. You can still you can still insert equations here. For example, I want to put this integral in, it's still okay. However, if I want to use the Unicode shortcuts, for example, if I use the backslash and int, normally if you press spacebar, the Microsoft Word will usually convert these characters here to an integral here. Over here, it does not. This way of putting in equations doesn't work as smoothly. So that's one of the drawbacks of using Microsoft Word in Linux. I mean, I suppose there are some workarounds, but you need to go through a lot of effort, and that itself is a drawback. So it's not as convenient to insert equations using Microsoft Word, but thankfully there are lots of workarounds for this. Okay, and one of those workarounds is to use LaTeX. Okay, LaTeX is it's a very nice tool for Linux users to write their equations very quickly. Some of the links are here. Though I must say, one of the before I go into that, the thing is that it is free and it's very, it runs very quickly on Linux, so you don't have as much lag as, let's say, again, as Microsoft Word. So if you've used Microsoft Word before and you have written a document using equation editor and you have lots of equations, you notice your document starts to lag a lot. Now with LaTeX here is open source way of writing all these equations well. If you use LaTeX, the effect is much less pronounced. I have not experienced the same degree of lag when using LaTeX. So I do encourage you to go and get yourself introduced to LaTeX, and some of the videos are here. It says how to install, extend, and use LaTeX. This is one of his websites, the author of this video called Luke Smith, and then he has this website here to show you how to install LaTeX. And one of the distributions I like to use is this distribution called Lyx, L-Y-X, and this video here shows you how to install Lyx and one of the other popular LaTeX programs called MikTeX, I think. Okay, so I prefer to use Lyx, but the thing with LaTeX is that, okay, it actually takes up a lot of space. It takes about 5 to 6 gigabytes of space on your root directory. So remember, usually your OS, you have a root directory where you install your programs and you have your booting system. So this is the root directory. Yeah, so you need at least 5 to 6 gigabytes of space in order to install LaTeX and Lyx successfully. And right now I only have 2.5 gigabytes of space because I installed many other programs. So and the fact is that, yeah, I only gave about 20 gigabytes of space to the file system, and ideally you should give the root system 30 to 40 gigabytes so that you can accommodate installing LaTeX, etc. So and there are a number of things, important things to get LaTeX and Lyx working properly, and some of the common fixes are actually okay. If you look at this link here, there are some of the common problems you might experience are your equations are not displaying correctly or something like that. So this is one of the common fixes, which is installing some fonts and everything. So that will actually help you to get your LaTeX working properly. Okay, but I'm not going to show you the installation process in this video because it's getting a bit long. So probably in the next few videos we'll probably show you how to get LaTeX up and running. Of course, we'll move on to other things once we are done with that. So hopefully this video has shown you, why Linux is so popular and why you might want to install Linux, given that it's free and a lot faster and a lot more smooth when you put your computer under such high computing loads. So it actually works pretty well. Alright, so and also hopefully I've shown you that you can run Microsoft Word on Linux, and that I mean, you got to pay a small fee, maybe about 30 to 40, I think it was about $40 US to pay for code weavers at least, and there are many additions there, but all in all, it's on the whole cheaper to run Linux and a lot faster to run Linux as compared to paying for, let's say, Windows. Yep, the Windows OS is really good for, with Windows programs, but there are workarounds that you can still use them on Linux. Okay, so that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again. Bye bye.